Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Your Life Projectize. This is episode number 19, titled Sharper Minds, Stronger Leaders, Cognitive Health in the Workplace. And I am especially excited because today, like all of my guests, as I always say, I have a very special person, individual on the line. And she is absolutely phenomenal. Her name is Dr. Mohita Shrivastava. And Dr. Mohita, I said to you I was going to pronounce your name correctly. And the first thing I do is mispronounce it. So let me try that one more time. So Dr. Mohita Shrivastava.
Yes, absolutely.
Terrific. I take a lot of pride in pronouncing folks' names correctly. So thank you. And so, Dr. Shrivastava, I'm so excited to have you with me today. And for folks who are listening in, this is an especially exciting episode because you and I served on a panel at the Health 2.0 conference earlier this year, right here in Las Vegas. And for folks that are listening, Dr. Shrivastava is joining us today from Dubai, beautiful Dubai. Dr. Shrivastava, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but before I do that, I just want to share with the audience that, of course, you are a PhD. You have your own company that focuses on cognition and cognitive health, which is, I think, so incredibly important. And I think that folks or maybe we don't hear a lot about. I mean, we hear a lot about mental health, which is, of course, very important, but maybe not as much about cognitive health. So I'm very happy that we're going to touch on this topic. That said, why don't you introduce yourself and please share with the audience anything that you would like them to know about you?
Sure, Pam. First of all, I would like to thank you. Heartfelt thanks for inviting me on your podcast. And, it's a very great platform to share your views, thoughts, and discuss the points that are really in the need to discuss.
Yeah.
And, well, by way of introduction, I'm Dr. Mohita Shrivastava, and I'm based in Dubai. And I'm founder and CEO of the Cognitome program. And by profession, I'm a neuroscientist and a neuropsychologist. And Cognitome program actually offers the therapeutics and management of all the issues related with cognition, cognitive control, cognitive skills, cognitive functions, and higher executive functions like decision making, strategic planning, reasoning, inhibitory control, and cognitive flexibility, all those things. So this Cognitome program basically is meant for cognitive rehabilitation therapy also for the
Mm-hmm.
people who are suffering from like neurological patients who are suffering from stroke, TBI, or in general, the program is meant for cognitive skills training, cognitive functions improvement, executive function improvement for you, me, and everyone.
Sure, sure. Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you mentioned all that, Dr. Shrivastava, because the first question I was actually going to ask you was, especially for those who are listening in on this episode, I was going to ask you, how would you define cognitive health? But I think you just did that. But I wanted to ask you, right? So Dr. Shrivastava, you and I have spoken a lot about executives, right? And leaders and
Yeah.
why cognitive health, why is it particularly important for maybe executives, maybe even for, the industry that I'm in, project management, project managers? Why is cognitive health so important for them?
See, Pam, the importance of cognition and cognitive health dates back to the ancient philosopher René Descartes, who once said that cogito ergo sum. That means, I think, therefore I exist.
Yeah.
So etymologically, if I go cognition or the word cognitive means to think, to know, to understand,
Mm-hmm.
and it is derived from the Latin word cognoscere. So now coming to your to the answer to your question, first of all, I would like to define a cognitive health for the audience a little
Sure.
bit. So it refers to the ability of our brains to function effectively across
Mm-hmm.
various domains, such as such as memory, attention, focus, uh, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, as I mentioned, processing
Mm-hmm.
speed, reading abilities, decision making, problem solving. So it encompasses our well-functioning system of information processing within our brains,
Mm-hmm.
our capacity to think, you know, learn and remember.
Yeah.
So, as well as our ability to manage our emotions, adapt to new situation, the adaptability, and maintain proper reasoning abilities, clarity of thought process, and clear logical thinking. So now, coming to the part of your question, like why cognitive health is so important for the project manager and the executives.
Mm-hmm.
See, in today's competitive eon, it has become imperative to not only have a balanced mind,
Mm-hmm.
but a sharp and active brain, right?
Yeah.
So, which is directly proportional to one's cognitive abilities or cognitive skills, as we say.
Yeah.
And of course, higher executive functions such as problem solving, decision making, and strategic planning. So, along with the focus and various type of attentional domains, the higher executive functions play a very important role in the lives of the executive and the working professionals.
Yeah.
Ability to manage stress is crucial for maintaining cognitive health as well. And as we all know that higher levels of stress can impair cognitive function, and of course cognitive health, leading to poor decision making and decreased productivity at workplace. So the project managers and executive needs to maintain cognitive resilience to handle the pressures of meeting timelines, deadlines, client expectations, and their roles. So, keeping that in mind, I would discuss few points here that are very important to know for all the working professional, be it
Please do.
project managers or higher level executives in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, the most important cognitive ability and higher order executive function to be considered among the project managers and executive is decision making and problem solving abilities. So they're often required to make complex decisions and solve problems quickly. A strong cognitive health and active, engaged brain ensures that they can process and analyze information effectively, precisely, weigh options, and make sound decisions that impact the organization. The second most important executive function
Mm-hmm.
to be considered is strategic thinking or
Mm-hmm.
strategic planning, as we say. So, to be able to strategize and plan effectively, cognitive health is essential, for long-term planning, strategic thinking. Executive needs to foresee challenges, anticipate trends, and develop strategies, that align with the organizational goals and demands and needs. This requires clear forward thinking and the ability to process large amounts of information. The third important cognitive ability, I would say, is effective communication and collaborative abilities, which are the key to leading teams and managing projects. So, cognitive health support active listening, of course, clear
Of course.
articulation of ideas, and ability to comprehend and understand and respond to the perspectives of even others in an apt and effective way. Next is to be able to adapt, as per the demand of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
which is called as cognitive flexibility. So, as we are aware that the business environment or workplace demands are constantly kind of a changing process. And higher cognitive functions such as cognitive flexibility enables project managers and executives to, adapt to new information, technologies and challenges, and effectively and within the time frame. And even the budget constraints for maintaining, as also enhancing the competitive edge. So I personally believe that cognitive flexibility and adaptability to the challenging environment is one of the aspects which is very important for the executive to consider. No, so last but not the least, I would like to say that cognitive health impacts overall productivity and efficiency of not only a working professional, but also of organization as a whole. So when cognitive function is optimal or at its peak, project managers and executive can work more efficiently. They can prioritize their tasks effectively and maintain focus and attention on critical goals and objectives. So I would like to give a suggestion to all the project managers and executive here that maintaining strong cognitive health is not just a personal benefit but a professional necessity nowadays. So it enhances one's ability to lead, innovate, motivate, and drive their organizations towards success and own selves towards growth and overall well-being.
Absolutely. And wow. So, firstly, such great information, Dr. Shrivastava. I was smiling as you were talking because you mentioned that a lot of executives, as well as project managers, uh, are in very high stress roles, and how that stress can lead to a cognitive decline, right? And then you also mentioned, which I wholeheartedly believe, and I think there is a growing consensus that if the leadership so let's say the leadership is stressed, the executive is stressed, and that leader is now making decisions, uh, maybe that are not optimal, maybe because they are stressed out, or they are not thinking maybe as clearly as they would if they maybe weren't stressed out. Those decisions carry through the organization, right? They touch every part of that organization. And and you've probably heard the saying before that decisions, the culture of the company, it really comes from the top and it carries through the organization. So very happy you mentioned that. And so, which brings me to another question, Dr. Shrivastava. You mentioned again, we talked a lot about the stress, right? The stress that executives might have, or that project managers have, that really all of us have. What if you were speaking to an executive and they said, you know what, Dr. Shrivastava, I am stressed out. I have so much on my plate, and it's impacting my decisions. What advice or maybe some exercises would you share with them, things that they can do to you know to either relieve their stress or to strengthen their cognition?
Yeah, see, sure, I would like to discuss this. See, enhancing cognitive health and managing stress is
Mm-hmm.
crucial for professionals in high demand roles.
Yeah.
So, where sharp thinking, decision making, and problem solving are essential. So, I would like to mention a few best practices to relieve the stress and the habits that have been proven to support and enhance cognitive health. So, first of all, maintain a regular exercise routine or a physical, workout routine. So, we all are aware that the physical activities increases blood flow to the brain, promoting neurogenesis, which is the growth of new neurons and
Mm-hmm.
making neural connections, the neuroplasticity, and improving overall brain function in terms of better cognitive processing, and also help in reducing stress and anxiety,
Yeah.
so which can impair cognitive function. So the best physical practice, in my humble opinion, are to get engaged in aerobic exercises like walking, running, swimming, or cycling at least 120 minutes per week. Additionally, strength training and yoga can also contribute to the cognitive health by improving focus and reducing stress. So another one is practicing mindfulness based practices such as meditation and many more, like mindfulness eating, mindfulness breathing, mindfulness uh, way of planning your task, or mindfulness way of having a time period to complete that task in this particular time frame. So
Mm-hmm.
these mindfulness based practices have been shown to enhance attention and improve memory and reduce stress. These practices promote mental clarity and focus as well. So, in my opinion, the best practice is to incorporate mindfulness exercises such as light or sound based meditation and into your daily routine. So, even a few minutes of any mindfulness based practice each day can make a significant difference in the cognitive health and reducing the stress. Next is, I would like to suggest that work on your creativity or in enhancing your creative intelligence. So, if you're being creative and work towards enhancing your creative intelligence, it's very easily to getting into routine with creative pursuits like writing, arts,
Sure.
painting, learning new skills, musical instruments, new language, all these have proven to improve one's focus, learning abilities, and reasoning by inducing neuroplastic changes within our brain and release of neurochemicals like dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, thereby enhancing creative intelligence and boosting cognitive health to a level of enlightenment, even.
Mm-hmm.
So, next, mental stimulation. I would suggest, a mental stimulation in the form of manual cognitive exercises or digital app-based, computer-based exercises. But I personally, if I devise a plan for someone,
Uh-huh.
I focus on manual cognitive exercises, which are very challenging and mentally stimulating. But now, in this hectic schedule and everyone is working in a fast-paced life, even digital and app-based, computer-based exercises are also good
Okay.
enough to mentally stimulate.
And Dr. Shrivastava, can you give us maybe an example of what one of those exercises might look like? Because right now I'm envisioning, if I'm thinking about, even a paper and pen, I'm envisioning a crossword puzzle, right? Uh,
Yeah,
or
crossword puzzle is also one of the mentally stimulating exercises. But then there are certain exercises where you're using both of your hands,
okay.
pen and paper, and there is a certain pattern that I give as per the assessments and everything that are being done for that particular individual. And then
Mhm.
there is a certain pattern, and the person has to, together has to, use both the hands and trace that pattern, or solve or write whatever I'm saying, to copy those lines with both the hands at the same time.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
also one of the things. So brain balancing, hemispheric lateralization, to making the coherent connections between the two hemispheres working together. So this is also one of the thing that I give to the people. So, I personally suggest to get your mental stimulation regularly in the form of manual cognitive tasks or digital app-based,
Mhm.
computer apps, that mentally stimulating and that activates and improve your cognitive functioning, like memory, problem solving, and critical thinking, which is very, very important. Critical thinking is very, very important. It is advised to regularly challenge your brain with activities like reading, of course, puzzles, this crossword puzzles, or even Sudoku, and learning a new skill or language also helps a lot. And engaging in strategic games, which really requires critical thinking and analysis. Then next is time management and prioritization of the tasks
Yeah.
to reduce this stress. Managing time effectively reduces cognitive overload and prevents burnout, and it allows for more focused and efficient thinking.
Sure.
It is advised to use tools like to-do list, calendars, and project management software to organize your tasks and deadlines, to achieve attain your deadlines. And avoid multitasking, because multitasking is not at all good for your brain and cognitive health. So prioritize. There is an article that I have already published in College Times, UAE's National Daily, and its Weekend magazine on multitasking, and
Uh-huh.
even on Vista Global magazine. So I'll share the link so that you can put in the description of the podcast so that people can read
Yeah,
that. And
please.
so prioritize, important tasks and finish each one at a time. And there is a the Pomodoro's method, which is very efficient to avoid the multitasking, and set up a certain time frame to finish one task, and then a break for 10 minutes, and then again go and do another task, not directly switching over. Like, for example, you're writing an email and suddenly you are working on Excel, jumping on it. It's not advisable, actually. So
Right.
this helps in reducing cognitive load, and regular breaks throughout the day also can help to refresh your cognitive resources and reduce stress. And social engagement, which is very important. So, optimal social interaction, even at the workplace,
Mhm.
stimulates brain areas involved in emotional regulation and decision making. Because sometimes I might not able to go to that particular point or think that particular point, but if we go and interact with people, maybe we get a novel idea or a new idea, and then we can, our creative pathways get enlightened, and we come to a decision. So optimal social interaction also stimulates your reduce stress and stimulates your cognitive health. It also provides opportunities for learning and cognitive engagement, of course, through conversations and shared activities. So this can be achieved, the optimal social interaction can be achieved by getting connected with family, friends, your peers at workplace, and friends and colleagues, and participating in various social activities in an organization, also networking events and group projects, joining clubs. organizations, or even volunteering, to expand your social interactions is a very good way to reduce stress and to improve your cognitive health. And of course, the stress management is one of the thing where you need to have, proper diet, proper sleep, proper,
Yeah.
of course, exercise and all those stuff. Sleep is, very important, because maintaining a work-life balance is very crucial in these days. So I think, cognitive health, to reduce the stress means we are going to reduce our cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. So just a good, the disciplined routine of with having good diet and physical exercise routine, as well as a sleep, is going a sleep pattern, proper sleep pattern or sleep routine, or maintaining a better sleep hygiene to get into this sleep uh, early. It's a good way to reduce stress and
Yeah.
become refreshed.
You brought up so many great points, and I like, so I want to touch on a few different ones that you brought up. So I like that you spoke about mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
and meditating. So actually, I had another podcast guest, my friend Leticia Escamilla. She actually spoke about mindfulness also, and we spoke
Mm-hmm.
about taking breaks, and even if it's just a minute, right, where you close your eyes and just take some time for yourself. And then another point that you mentioned, you said multitasking. It's honestly, it's not efficient, and I think a lot of us know that. I think there are those of us who think that we're being efficient while we are multitasking, but obviously that is not the case. uh, and you mentioned doing one task at a time, and then, right, really focusing on that task and then doing it well. I had a one of my favorite managers ever. uh, I remember there was one time I was very overwhelmed. And yes, as a project manager, yes, I shouldn't be overwhelmed because obviously I know how to manage my tasks, but sometimes even we get overwhelmed, right? And I remember I said to her, I had three different projects, and I said, I'm just overwhelmed. I feel, I feel consumed by all of this work. And I said, what do I do? Do you have any advice for me? And she said to me, how would you eat an elephant? Obviously, nobody's eating an elephant, obviously. But I said, I don't know, one bite at a time. And she said, exactly. And that was
Exactly.
her way, of you know,
Yes.
teaching me that, you have to do it one bite at a time. Obviously, you can't eat the whole elephant at once, right? You have to just, piece by piece. And that, honestly, it really stood out to me. So a lot of the examples that you just gave, I'm a huge fan of, because that is exactly what I've been taught and what I've been learning throughout the years. And so, Dr. Shrivastava, I don't want to pivot too much, but as we were talking, I started thinking about some other things. So, we mentioned these different exercises that you can do, right, to help with cognitive health. But what advice, or what do you think someone should do if, so, individuals that might have chronic diseases, right? And I talk about health a lot in some of my episodes. I'm a huge health advocate, and I do know, I have firsthand experience understanding that certain patients that might have, whether it's dementia or maybe even multiple sclerosis, that these diseases do sometimes affect their cognition, right? Um,
Yes.
for like, I'll use myself as an example. Even though I've had a stem cell transplant and I've been in remission for 8 years, I know when I first, during the first, I want to say, years of my MS diagnosis, my cognition was deeply affected. I had short-term memory loss, brain fog, things of that nature. It has gotten a lot better since having my stem cell transplant. I want to say I'm almost back to normal, but what advice would you give, or what would you recommend for patients who maybe are in cognitive decline, or are experiencing cognitive impairment?
See, honestly, you, me, patients, whosoever it is. I mean, everybody with due in due course of time, whether it's work-related stress or whether it's some chronic condition, neurological condition,
Mm-hmm.
or psychological issues, everybody faces challenges on cognition or the cognitive health because
Yeah.
we, the what should I say to this? Like people are interchangeably using the term cognitive health and mental health. They're not even aware what exactly is the cognitive health. They say, and they get confused with the mental health, the word
Yeah.
mental health. Mental, I'll come to that question. I would rather request you to ask that question so that I can explain it better to the
Sure, sure,
audience.
sure. Absolutely.
So, what happens that we, first of all, a common population is not aware why it is happening, like short-term memory loss or unable to focus for a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
jumping from one task to another because person is not able to focus. The focus on the attention is affected. Short-term memory loss is very common, specifically in the patients who are using any chronic medications.
Yeah.
Not only the neurological patients, patients who are having hypothyroid, diabetes, chronic issues, heart issues, all those things. So the people are not aware why it is happening to them.
Yeah.
So of course there is a lot of neuroscience behind this, neurobiology and neurobiochemistry that interplay a role. What happens inside the body and the brain and the neuroendocrine axis, why it's happening. That's a different story. But I would like to suggest here and give an advice to each and every one of us, be it patients of neurological disorders or be the corporates, professionals, or be you
Mm-hmm.
and me, whosoever it is. Like, first of all, uh, if something is happening, you're thinking that it's abnormal, that I'm just not able to recall anything, which, for example, just a car key, you just pick it up and then you went to drink a glass of water and you kept it somewhere, and immediately if you're not able to recall that where I have kept the key, that's alarming.
Yeah.
So that then in that case you should really really first and foremost go without any, don't go to a mental health professional, go to a neuropsychologist or or an expert healthcare provider who can assess your cognitive functions and abilities. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend each one of us that every 6 months in a year visit some neuropsychologist or a healthcare professional who is expert, like cognitive neuroscientist and all those, and get your assessments done and see what is happening wrong inside you. And when you have a particular report, an assessment report, and then you will understand that something is happening inside my brain which is affecting my cognitive abilities or cognitive health, and which is affecting my day-to-day life, quality of life, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, practicing, see, these things are very, very holistic approaches, like practicing adequate sleep and sleep routine and mindful diet and, physical exercises or workouts or yoga or mindfulness based practices. Of course, they are the, they support your cognitive health, no doubt about it. And you have a disciplined routine with that. But I would really suggest, please take it as a, if something is really worrisome for you, that you're not able to focus or not able to decide things on your own and very confused to take a very little decision, then it's time to go to, an assessor and get your assessment done and take it very seriously and go through the programs that are specifically meant, take those programs that are specifically meant for your cognitive rehabilitation or cognitive improvement, because that really helps a lot.
Yeah.
And experts knows, based on our assessments, that what kind of a plan, which area is specific to your brain, which region specific to your brain is getting affected, so I need to devise certain specific task, and we need to induce the neuroplastic changes, making new neural connections and break down the old neural connections. So that is very very important, and I would rather say that don't take it lightly. Consider it as your own physical health, and it can be, because our brains, they are meant to rewire throughout our lives. So if you
Yeah.
mentally stimulate them, we have to, like a brain gym, there are certain games, but there are certain activities also apart from that holistic approaches.
Yeah.
We need to focus on certain regions of the brain and areas, and then we need to devise a plan. So go to a professional healthcare provider, and if it is happening, don't I mean, it's very easy. Within 6 or 8 months or 9 months or within a year, you will restore your normal cognitive functioning because it's very easy. So don't get disheartened. Go get your assessment done. Approach to a program or a healthcare provider who can devise a plan for your cognitive health, and everything will set into place if you really, really go and take that plan and be motivated enough to complete that program, and the cognitive health gets restored. It's very easy, no issues with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think you also mentioned again, exercising the brain, and you're
Yeah,
so right. I mean,
like
the
a brain
brain,
gym. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
you
mean
need to keep your brain active. Yeah,
of course, absolutely. I mean, the brain is a muscle, right? And
must,
just right.
exactly.
And
That's
just
what I was about to say. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And so, Dr. Shrivastava, so I realize that we're getting toward the end of our time, but I have a few more questions. One that I definitely want to make sure that I ask you, because again, I was thinking about this again as we were speaking. So,
yeah.
what is, in your experience, based on the work that you've done, what is the most surprising thing that you have learned about how the brain works under stress? What is the thing that surprised you the most? That wow, I hadn't considered this.
See, one of the most surprising things about how the brain works under stress is how stress can actually shrink the brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which is very important for decision making, strategic planning, critical thinking. In a nutshell, prefrontal cortex is responsible for higher order cognitive functions, as I mentioned, reasoning.
Okay.
And in fact, you can read a couple of articles titled Why Stress is the Silent Killer and 21 Ways to Manage Stress and Anxiety Among Working Professionals on my website, www.cognitomeprogram.me, and the news and media section. So let's discuss, in short, the impact of stress on our brain. See, chronic stress can lead to the structural changes.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from functional, they lead to the structural changes in the brain, such as reduction in the size of your prefrontal cortex, the areas involved in executive functioning, like planning, decision making, and regulating behavior. This is what the role of prefrontal cortex is, in a layman terms. So at the same time, stress can also cause the, amygdala, the brain's emotional center, to become more active and even grow larger.
Mm-hmm.
So this imbalance can lead to increased emotional reactivity and impaired cognitive functioning, right? Then a second thing that I've come across is like that stress can lead to memory impairment, which is very, very common, very, very common. Right.
Okay.
So, as it affects the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory and learning, chronic stress can lead to shrinking of hippocampal neurons, resulting in memory loss and difficulties in learning new skills or new information. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is why people often struggle to recall details or think clearly when they are under high level of stress. Under stress, the brain tends to be rely more on habitual behaviors rather than the thoughtful and deliberate decision making. So this means that in stressful situations, people are more likely to make decisions based on what they have done before,
Mm-hmm.
rather than carefully considering new options or strategies, or
Yeah.
weighing it and comprehending the current situation correctly. So, besides the release of cortisol, the primary stress hormone is meant to help the body deal with the immediate threats. However, when the stress is really chronic, elevated cortisol levels, can damage brain cells, particularly in the hippocampus, affecting memory and learning. This not only impairs memory, but it also make it harder to manage stress and creating a vicious cycle which keeps on. And it impacts, of course, your neuroendocrine axis, the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary axis. So there is a topsy-turvy play of your neurochemicals and neuroendocrine hormones, which of course creates an imbalance. So, interestingly, not all stresses are detrimental, of course. So there's eustress and distress, we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So, eustress in small doses can enhance cognitive function even by increasing alertness and boosting memory formation. This is known as the fight or the flight response, as we know, where the brain prepares the body to react quickly to danger. The
Yeah.
sympathetic nervous systems come into play in this arena. However, when stress becomes chronic or it becomes a distress, then it shifts from being beneficial to very, very detrimental and harmful. So I would say that brain's response to stress is a very complex and multifaceted process.
Hmm.
And while this can sometimes sharpen the mind and improve performance in the short term, but chronic stress can lead to significant cognitive decline, emotional instability, and even structural changes in the brain. So, this underscores the importance of stress management techniques and maintains a balanced lifestyle to protect cognitive and maintaining a balanced lifestyle to protect your cognitive health and overall well-being and quality of life is very, very crucial.
Wow, wow. Again, every time you answered, Dr. Shrivastava, I'm blown away. I'm just blown away. Wow, there's a lot of this is just so eye-opening. And when you were talking about, when you were in high stress or when you're under stress, how it affects the frontal lobe, right, of your,
Prefrontal.
okay.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. And at one point in my life, I was in under a lot of stress, and I believed that stress is what had eventually led to my MS diagnosis, among other things, of course. But I did
Mhm.
think that stress was a very big factor, and so I, at the time, said, once I knew I was going to have the stem cell transplant, I said, if I undergo the stem cell transplant and it is a success, that I'm going to remove myself from the stressful situation that I'm in, because that is the only way I'm going to give my body and my brain the best chance at survival. And so that is what I did. And uh, for the last almost 8 years, I have definitely, my stress has been reduced. I definitely uh, do notice that my cognition has improved
Oh,
dramatically. But I didn't realize I guess, the direct correlation, or just scientifically, that yes, there is a direct correlation between the stress that you're undergoing and your cognition. So that said, and again, I realize we're getting to the end of our time, but I did want to ask you one final question, which has nothing to do with cognition. I wanted to ask
okay.
you, and I ask all of my guests this. So, Dr. Shrivastava, when you were a little girl, right, and you were thinking about what you wanted to be when you grew up, what is that thing that you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were a little girl and you were thinking about your future?
You see, I always wanted to, I was a very inquisitive child since, I was a very inquisitive child. I was
Uh-huh.
not a person who, if you say ABC, so I believe in ABC.
Yeah.
Always had a scientific bent of mine,
Yeah.
why it is so. So honestly, brain and mind has really, really, fascinated me since my childhood.
Yeah.
And I thought to become a neurologist as I
Okay.
was growing. Okay, a medical doctor. But as I grew and I really analyzed, and the people around me used to say that, she's someone who is going to dig till the end. I mean, it's just not ABC. Why it's ABC? Why it's
Yeah.
not CPA? Why not
Yeah.
it's AC like that? So then I myself thought that no, if I become a neurologist, of course, every profession is very, very pious and pure. All are the healers, all are the doctors. But then I thought, I will limit my knowledge to certain disorders, prescribing medications, and all that stuff.
Okay.
So then I thought to go and study brain and mind in detail. So I did my biomedical sciences, master's in biomedical sciences, a specialization in neurosciences, then my PhD, then my psychology, then my applied psychology, because I kept on, I really wanted to learn more about the intricacies of the brain and the mind, how they interconnectedly work together. And I personally believe that, you know, being any in any discipline, if you are researching and devising something new for the benefit of the society, it's something that makes your life worthwhile. So
Absolutely.
so then I decided to become a scientist, a neuroscientist, and an educator, because I was a teacher, I was a professor also in a university in the neuroscience department. And I really like to, teach and create awareness among the students, among the masses, which I'm doing till date, while writing by writing the articles on various platforms, including my own blog, Cognizine, and newspapers and magazines about the brain and mind, how they are different, about the cognitive health. And this was my life story, that I always wanted to be a neurologist, but that as I grew up and I realized my own self, I was fascinated by intricacies of the brain and the mind. So I decided to do my PhD, my research, became into, I mean, went into academics. And post COVID era, I came to, I mean, I have seen many people across, and I understood that the people are not aware with the cognitive health, which is very important. They are, just anxiety, depression everywhere, and they were confusing it with the mental health. And then I thought that, now this is the time to tell people the word that cognition is very important. Cognitive health is very, very different than your mental health. Mental health is your emotional feeling, thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Cognition, brain, which makes you think and react accordingly and analyze the situation, enhances your reasoning ability, so which is very important. Then I developed this program, Cognitome program, exclusively meant for all kind of, for each and every person, corporates, kids, geriatrics, patients, you, me, everyone who wants to improve their cognitive health in any course of their life.
Dr. Shrivastava, I am so glad that you went into the field that you did, because I can just imagine, or actually, I can't even imagine how many lives you have probably changed, how many lives you have touched, and the work you are doing has been and continues to be remarkable. And I am just so excited to continue following you and your journey. And again, it has been such an honor to have you on here. It was such an honor to share the stage with you. I am so
Thank you.
grateful. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you again. And again, I will make sure that I post a link to your LinkedIn as well as to your website, because I think you have this was such an informative episode. And I think that a lot of folks are going to want to follow up with you. So again,
Thank you,
thank
Bob. Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
inviting me. Thank you.
Absolutely.